Okay, so we all know about Zahir-ud-din Muhammad Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire. Before he came to Afghanistan or even India, there's a whole other chapter of his life where you really see the struggles that this guy went through. And oh my god. I mean, I knew of the story, but I didn't know it in quite a lot of detail. Now I do because I researched, but my goodness. Firstly, this guy had the worst relatives, and sometimes the best relatives. But how utterly confusing. I mean, I can't imagine. And secondly, resilience. I mean, this guy had another middle name that would be Resilience. Because normal people in his shoes would have given up. I'd have given up a long time ago. And he almost did several times because things got really bad. But my god, what a story. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Misha and welcome to Tarihi Tales. This video is also part of the Mughal series, and if you want to have a look at more videos from that series, I link it down in the description box. Also, if you'd like to help out this channel, you can do so in multiple ways. You can go to our Patreon, become a paid member. You can also become a paid member of this channel. I'll put a link in the description box and I'll put one up here as well. If you're in Pakistan, you can help out with the number provided on screen. And other than that, you can like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. Now, as always, all the sources and all the references I'm using will be listed down below in the description box. And for those of you who want to watch this video in Urdu or Hindi, I have another channel where the same video would be uploaded in Urdu/Hindi. So let's get into it. So Zahir-ud-din Muhammad Babur was born on February 14th, 1483. Now, Babur was no ordinary boy. He was born a prince, and not just any prince, but he was a blue blood twice, having strong connections from his mother's and from his father's side. And although having influential people in your family is usually a perk, but in Babur's case, this was like a double-edged sword. It had its cons. Now, Babur's father was Umar Sheikh Mirza, a fourth-generation descendant of Amir Timur, or people might know him as Tamerlane. And Amir Timur is one of the most ruthless conquerors in history, and he took over great portions of Central Asia. And on Babur's mother's side, his mother was Kutluk Nigar Khanum, and she was a direct descendant of Chinggis Khan. So Babur's lineage basically boasted both Amir Timur and Chinggis Khan as his forefathers. But because Babur's paternal side was more linked to Amir Timur, that is where he saw himself coming from. And he always called himself a Timurid prince and never a Mongol. So let me give you guys a little bit context. By this time in history, which is the 15th century, the huge empires that were built by Chinggis Khan and then by Amir Timur, both those empires had kind of been disintegrated and diluted down because they had been divided among their successors and over generations. So by this point in Central Asia, you could find a number of small kingdoms rather than one big empire, and each kingdom had its own prince. Some of them were Timurids, some of them were Mongolian, and some of them were actually Uzbeks. Now, to give you an example, for example, Babur's father ruled the valley of Fergana, and Babur's uncle, his father's brother basically, ruled Samarkand, Ahmad Mirza. And all of these small princely states would constantly be waging wars against each other and kind of trying to get back to that olden days glory of Amir Timur. Now, initially, obviously, Babur was too young to understand what was going on politically, but it was only after his father's death that he realized what it meant to have relatives which were so influential and ones which could question his authority so easily. And he actually felt this when he was only 12 years old in 1494, when his father, Umar Sheikh Mirza, actually fell off from a pigeon tower to his death. Now, one of the opening sentences of the Baburnama, which is the book written by Babur himself, he says that during the month of Ramazan, he became Padshah in the Vilayat of Fergana. But it turns out that none of these other small principalities actually recognized Babur as the ruler of Fergana. Instead, both the branches of his family, the Timurids and the Mongols, saw this as an opportunity to take Fergana. So 3 different people from within Babur's own family attacked Fergana at the same time, right after his father's death, a time when usually families would be more considerate towards the kids, but here it was the opposite. Firstly, we have Ahmad Mirza, who was a ruler of Samarkand. He was also Babur's paternal uncle and father-in-law. Babur was already engaged to his daughter. He invaded Fargana from the southwest, settling just outside the town of Andijan. Secondly, we have Mahmud Khan, the ruler of Tashkent. Now, he was a Chagatai Mongol and was a maternal uncle of Babur. And he also invaded this area, but from the northwest. And he besieged the city of Aksi. Make sure to remember this guy, specifically Mahmud Khan, because he's going to come back in the story over and over again. And the third was a distant family member from the Mongol side of the family. He was a ruler of Kashgar area, Abu Bakr Daglat. He invaded Fargana, crossing the Xinjiang mountains and occupying Uzgend. So quite the family feud at this point. But luckily, Babur actually had quite a few loyal men on his side from within his own kingdom, and after a few skirmishes, he was able to repel all three of these imminent threats. Ahmad Shah, who was a paternal uncle, was unable to take the city of Andijan and died on his way back to Samarkand. Mahmud Khan and Abu Bakr Daglat were also chased back. Now, this attack also had its positive sides, because what happened was that people within the kingdom of Fargana actually gained a newfound respect for Babur. Now, even those who were skeptical kind of admitted to his rule and pledged loyalty to Babur. Among the people who pledged loyalty was Babur's half-brother, Jahangir. Now, one thing to remember about Babur's family is that yes, they were at each other's throats and they were also attacking each other. But at the same time, family was family. And sometimes they really looked out for each other. And it's very, very confusing as to what each time would be, but you'll understand more as the story unfolds. Now, in the summer of 1496, Babur heard about trouble within the kingdom of Samarkand, because as we talked about earlier, his uncle Ahmad Mirza, who was ruling Samarkand, passed away on his journey back from the attack on Babur, right? So, since he passed away, there was now kind of a succession battle going on between Babur's cousins. And now this was Babur's turn to kind of see this as an opportunity. And he writes within one of his memoirs, "Given a capital like Samarkand, why would a person wish to waste time in a place like Andijan?" So basically, all the Timurid princes kind of wanted to get Samarkand because Samarkand was the capital of Amir Timur himself, and it was the most prestigious city in their eyes as well. So Babur didn't waste any time and he left Fargana, joined two more of his cousins, and then all three of these people attacked another one of Babur's cousins who was kind of ruling Samarkand at that time. And after a very long siege, Babur and his two cousins were actually able to take the city of Samarkand. And to him, this was a huge deal because, as I mentioned, all the Timurid princes wanted this. And Babur's happiness could be seen through his writings during that time. But this happiness was actually quite short-lived because, as I mentioned, the city was only taken after a very long siege, right? So the city and the people inside it were in a horrible state, and there was a huge shortage of food. So what happened was that the 600 to 800 people that Babur had with him as his own army, those people started to desert the army. They left Babur. And at the same time, we talked about how Babur got together with two of his cousins and then attacked Samarkand. So one of those two cousins, this guy is called Ahmad Tambal. Remember this guy because he also will be coming back in the story over and over. Now, Ahmad Tambal was one of Babur's cousins from his Mongolian side of the family. So this guy also betrayed Babur and he went ahead with his own army towards Babur's kingdom in Andijan, where he joined Babur's half-brother Jahangir and took over Babur's kingdom. Now, obviously, taking over Babur's kingdom shouldn't have been that easy, right? Because when Babur left Fargana in Andijan, he basically left it in the hands of his grandmother, his mother, and a lot of loyal men who were guarding this area. And initially, Ahmad Tambal was kind of basically besieging the city of Andijan. And when Babur heard news that this is happening, he actually rushed back as well. But before he could get there, he also got news that one of the people from his father's courts, Ali Dast Tagai, who was also a Mongol, laid open the gates of the city of Andijan to Ahmad Tambal. So there was barely a fight. He just walked into the city. So basically, he was betrayed by his army, his cousin, and then one of his father's own older courtiers. And one thing to note is that the cousin and the courtier were both Mongolian. And I'm making you note this because I'll come back to this in a bit. So in this way, Babur's kingdom was also kind of lost. And at this point, Babur only had like 300 to 400 men with him, and he knew that that's not nearly enough to take back his own kingdom. So he took refuge for a little while in the town of Khujand. And Babur's mother, his grandmother, and all of these women from the court were actually allowed to also go to Khujand with respect. This was one of the few perks of having all of these family battles, because they're all related. And the women were given courtesies where needed. Now, Babur was desperate at this point. He doesn't have Samarkand and he doesn't have Andijan anymore either. And he barely has any men to take anything back. So, Babur does what anybody would do, and he reached out to one of his relatives. And the relative he reaches out to is Mahmud Khan, the ruler of Tashkent. This is the same guy that also attacked Babur right after his father passed away. This guy is a Mongol, he's Babur's mother's brother, and Mahmud Khan, who had earlier attacked him, did actually help Babur out. Babur reached out and asked for troops, and he sent 5,000 troops one time, and then later he sent 7,000 to 8,000 troops. But even with all of that, Babur was unable to take back his kingdom, and he remained in Khujand for the time being. And within his memoirs in the Baburnama, Babur actually refers to this time period of his life as a Kazakliklar, or a Kazakh, or Kazakh years, which basically means that he was wandering without power, authority, or troops. And these were difficult times for the young prince, and this lasted almost a year and a half. And after a year and a half, Babur's fortunes unexpectedly improved when the same guy who had betrayed Babur and opened the gates of Andijan for Ahmad Tambal, Ali Dastagai, suddenly reaches out to Babur and he says, "I'm sorry for betraying you, and now I'm on your side." And now with his help, Babur was able to take back the city of Andijan because he was on the inside. So Ali Dastagai, who had previously betrayed Babur, now betrayed Ahmad Tambal and Jahangir and joined hands with Babur. Babur was now able to take back his kingdom and he was back in Andijan. And according to his writings, the people there actually really welcomed him because apparently Ahmad Tambal had been a very oppressive ruler. Now, just to note, there are a couple of different sources for the story that I'm telling you today. It's not just Babur's own writings. The historians whose works I'm referring to have used sources from all these other areas as well and then compiled these events. But obviously, Baburnama is a huge part of these sources, so I'm going to also be giving you Babur's own perspective because we have it for once. So when Babur is writing about all of this in the Baburnama, he talks about, how I was emphasizing that, this Ahmad Tambal was a Mongol, the guy who betrayed Babur from within his own court was a Mongol. So the reason I was saying that was because in the Baburnama, after all the betrayals, Babur talks about how these Mongols have gotten together and have gotten against him. And he really, really writes down his displeasure for these people and how much he dislikes them. And Babur basically equated their betraying nature to being equal to their Mongolness. Because they're betraying me because they're Mongols, that's what they do. So he really disliked them. And the word for Mongol was Mughal. So the irony that his empire is now being called the Mughal Empire. And this would be a recurring theme in Babur's story. Mongols will actually betray him over and over and over again. But they'll also help him when needed. Mahmud Khan was also a Mongol, the guy who sent him all those troops to take back Andijan. So the complexity of all of this is so weird that now Babur has Andijan, but Ahmad Tambal and Jahangir, the people from whom Babur has taken Andijan this time, those people are still trying to attack the city and attack Farghana and take over. And the same uncle, Mahmud Khan, who had sent Babur troops against Ahmad Tambal, had now sent Ahmad Tambal troops against Babur. So it's quite confusing. Babur in his memoirs actually justifies this as saying that, well, Ahmad Tambal's family is very influential and he's also Mongol, so they must have persuaded Mahmud Khan to help him. He must not have wanted to help them. So that's how Babur justifies all of this. So now because Babur's brother and the same cousin were still bugging him and attacking over and over again, Babur decided to go with the same guy, Ali Dastagai, that the one who betrayed him and then apologized and helped him take back his kingdom. So in the year 1500, he went with Ali Dastagai and met Ahmad Tambal and Jahangir and decided that, okay, you know what, let's have a truce. Let's work together. And then they decided that, okay, here's the deal. We will all get together and march on Samarkand. Once we take Samarkand, Babur, you will be ruling Samarkand, and then Ahmad Tamil and Jahangir will be ruling Fergana. We can see from his writings that Babur wasn't particularly happy with this deal, but he did want to take Samarkand, so he kind of went along with it. But to take Samarkand, they couldn't just up an attack immediately. They had to wait for the right moment. And the right time arrived within May or June of the same year, because at that time, Babur's cousin, Sultan Ali Mirza, was ruling Samarkand. But there were some people within the city, the Khans, who were unhappy with him, and they revolted against him. So Babur's cousin himself actually invited Babur to help him take the city and crush these revolts. And Babur thought that, wow, what a good opportunity. So Babur set out towards Samarkand along with Ali Dastagai. By this point, you should know who he is. It's the same guy that betrayed, then apologized and all of that, okay? But as Babur was kind of executing this plan of his, another event was kind of going on in the background which he didn't know about at the time. Now, within all these different princely states, there's also a ruler called Shebani Khan. Now, Shebani Khan is an Uzbek, and Shebani Khan, even at that point, is legendary because he's the only one among all of these Central Asian different princes that has a standing army. The army is very disciplined, and he is also a ruthless conqueror. And people are very scared of him. So Shebani Khan had just conquered Bukhara at this point. And when he saw the weakness that was emerging in Samarkand, he went ahead and captured Samarkand as well. So before Babur could get there and do the things that he was thinking about doing, Shebani Khan had already kind of swept in and taken Samarkand. So a lot of things happened at the same time. Shebani Khan takes Samarkand immediately before Babur gets there, and when Shebani Khan takes Samarkand, he murders Babur's cousin, Sultan Ali Mirza, who was ruling Samarkand. And at the same time, the guy, Ali Dastagai, who had betrayed Babur before, decides to betray him once again. And he deserts along with a lot of Babur's army and goes back and joins Ahmad Tamil and Jahangir. And they take over Andijan again. Babur should have seen this one coming from a mile away. But you also have to remember that he's basically a kid at this point. He's not very old, He doesn't have a lot of experience. So, but he still should have known that this guy betrays me every chance he gets. And again, Ali Dastagai betrays Babur. So Babur, when he writes about all of this in his memoir, he says that at this moment, we were deprived of city and province, uncertain as to whether to leave or to remain in the Samarkand region. He was reduced once again to a Kazakil state, that of a throneless Timurid vagabond. So it's become pretty apparent by this point that the familial ties within the Timurid and Mongol families were a game of push and pull, and people would be siding with the person that they think is the strongest, not really according to family ties, And Babur's situation after all of these betrayals was quite bad. He was reduced down to only 240 men. And on the other hand, Shebani Khan had almost 3,000 to 4,000 horsemen. So Babur at this point is in the area of Samarkand and he only has 240 men and doesn't know what to do. So what in the world will Babur do? How will he take back anything? I mean, at this point, he has nothing left. So I'm going to leave you guys here, but believe me, there's a lot more that's going to go on before he moves on even to Afghanistan. But because the video is getting so long, I'm going to make this into 2 parts. So see you guys in the next part. So let me know what you think about this video down below in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.